and we locked in.
Yeah.
You know we locked in. I'm locked in with you. I'm in love with you. So for me to have to explain to the masses something that they don't even know or they don't even want to know,
right?
Why the fuck is that even important? My thing is exposing the fuck shit.
Yeah.
And by saying, hold on, bro. I can have this conversation.
Yeah.
And I can go back home and I have another conversation and we still are locked in even more.
Yeah.
I don't gotta lie.
I agree.
I don't have to perpetrate this lifestyle of something. And when I say cheating, when I say other women, this ain't something that always is happening actively. We've been together going on 5 years. So for me, when those certain questions are asked, I'm talking about over the span of 5 years.
Yeah.
And she knows everything, just like I know everything. It's too much, okay, I'm going to choose this and deal with that and not, don't tell me that. Because this is what I mean when I go back to the statement I said, you want the benefits, but you don't want the bullshit. You want the Birkin bag, you want the Cartier love bracelet, you want the house, you want the car, you want this, but when I need you, when I'm coming to you in a vulnerable state to say, babe, I'm not happy right now. I'm not happy with you.
Right.
I'm not happy with how business is going right now.
Yeah.
This is what triggers me. Okay, my trigger may be different than Cam, than Sam, than Dan, or Donald.
Right.
Because for Cam, it may be sex. For Donald, it may be domestic violence.
Right.
For Sam, it may be alcoholism. For Donald or Dan, it may be drug abuse. So, bullshit, benefits. You don't get to pick up the baggage that you want. You have to say, what's your, what you said, stay power?
Staying power.
Staying power.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to have you as a hostage more so than a volunteer.
Right.
Because I'm volunteering to be with you daily. I don't want you to be no hostage where it's like, man, he gonna do this or I gotta stay because, no. That's not that. Because if you want to ask yourself this ain't no new way of living. That's what people are so delusioned about.
The delusion
this
is real.
shit been happening for years.
Yeah.
Uncles, aunties,
Yeah.
dads, granddads, like everybody has always dealt with temptation.
Yeah.
And that's where I asked, have you been able to have that ecosystem? Because for me, I've learned with certain things, a lot of people can't cope with my lifestyle.
Most will never understand
That,
to even know that they can or not.
It doesn't really come down to money. I think it comes down to principles. It comes down to principles and it comes down to agreements. Talked about agreements, right? I just think that sometimes people think that because they're in a certain tax bracket or they make a certain amount of income that they should operate in a certain in a certain manner where they lack decorum, right? It's like people who make less than 50,000 should humble themselves and should bow in front of everybody as they walk through and scatter through society. And then once you cross this threshold, you should operate in this kind of manner. I think that's a fallacy, and I think it's a terrible paradigm to kind of try to push. I think what happens is that we tend to kind of look at the people who we want to be, or some people want to become, and they kind of model their life around that, not understanding any of the foundational pillars in which they stand on. So for me, 100,000, the new 100,000 is 156,000. Let's start right there. The new 100K is 156. That's where the bar starts at. So if anything, you have to be at that benchmark and then we could push forward. But even then, I don't think it's really about, people doing whatever they want in relationships. I think what happens is that I think there's a level of ego and arrogance that tends to show up, and they feel that they could treat or talk to their person any particular type of way. Now, if there's a certain lifestyle in which you adhere to, bring it up. Look, this is how I see or foresee my life and how it's structured and these parameters. I just want to let you know this is how I view things. If you're on board and you agree with it, great. If you're not, I totally understand. Yo, let me tell you, there are people who are willing to sign up for what you want. There are people out there who want what you want. Stop trying to convince people who don't want what you want to want what you want. Because that's where the moment of friction starts to happen, where the headaches and the issues. And if you are making that bag, you're spending more time trying to fix on your relationship and get through these headaches rather than focusing on your business, rather than focusing on your job or your career, rather than focusing on your investments. Don't create situations in your life where they bring headaches and issues. Everything moves kosher every single day. Imagine turning on your car every single day and that bitch does not work. It's not turned on, doesn't work, it's not reliable. That is what your relationship is like. Every day is an issue. You can't get from A to B smoothly because unfortunately, there's always an issue. It disrupts your day, disrupts your week. It just disrupts the natural flow of things of how you operate in your business or how you operate in your job function, right? You need to be highly functional. And that's about making sure that the people that you talk to and the people that you usher into your life, that they're in alignment with you. Because if not, let them go. Let them find somebody else who that wants what they want. And I promise you, once you let that go, like that car, you can't park the new car in the garage where the old car still sits. You gotta let it go. So
Okay. Let's go to Shan, and then we get Kelly in there. Go ahead, Shan.
So I agree with Luis on this one, right? Everybody doesn't need to know your business, even if it's an understanding between you and your wife or your girlfriend, whoever. That ain't for you to tell everybody, because she may have made that understanding with you and her, long as you guys know. But just like Coco said, when the public knows, you're going to be judged, right? And it's not going to even just be you being judged. Your it trickles down to your kids as well, because then they'll start getting picked on and all that kind of stuff. And the difference between our grandfathers and the tackiness that's going on right now is you had to find out through the streets that something was going on. Your granddaddy did everything in his might to let that side chick know you need to keep your mouth closed. You know, when I found out, never mind, let me put my business down the street. You usually find those things out at funerals. That granddaddy had a whole nother family. It wasn't, he did everything he could to protect his wife. And I'm going to leave it like that. All this, okay, everybody got power in your relationship. You out here talking and downplaying your household. That's not, that's not appropriate. That's not the right way to do things. It's not okay. It used to be a time where you didn't brag about dysfunction, right? You knew it was wrong. Why are you bragging about it like it's a badge of honor? It's wrong. You keep that shit a secret. Keep it to yourself. We don't need to know what's going on, what's keeping your household together. So that's all I have to say.
All right, go ahead, Miss Kelly.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
Yes, perfect. So yeah, I think that it all boils down to the standards that we put on ourselves, the standards that our parents have put on us. How life happens and what the Bible says, what everybody talks about is monogamy, right? And I personally don't think that there's a right or a wrong in terms of like how you may, handle your relationship. I think that it's all about vulnerability. A lot of people don't have the courage to be vulnerable enough to say, hey, this is what I want, because your job is to meet your partner's needs, period. So if my needs aren't being met and I tell you what my needs are, if you can't meet them, either we got to figure out how to meet my needs or we got to move around, shift some things. Because in relationships, everybody should still be their individual priority, and we should just be two whole people that are meshing together to make a whole relationship. So I don't know. I feel like there's definitely a double standard because women could do the same thing. Is it cheating if women do it? Because we can definitely get we can get who we want just as fast as y'all can get who y'all want. So my question or my challenge would be to the guys, it's like if this is something that, men feel that they could do, would they be okay with their wives doing the same thing? Or is that another double standard that we have to suck up?
Well, I mean, I think it just depends. Like, if you had the conversation at the beginning of the relationship, at the beginning of the introduction, the courting, and the dating process, I would think that it would be laid out clearly and people understand where they operate in that relationship. But if you've already laid down that this is a monogamous relationship and that we're heading towards marriage or we're heading towards life partnership, whatever the case may be, and then in that process, that person says, I want to do this, I'm going in this direction. Now it goes against everything that you've already set up. And I get it. You have to be malleable and you have to be adjustable, right? But I think there are certain lines in which people are not willing to cross. They already established whatever their boundaries are. And I'm pretty sure that people communicate that what their non-negotiables are at the beginning of the relationship. Look, I don't accept this, I don't tolerate this, don't ever do this to me, etc. They lay those things out and you know what they are. And there's a healthy fear placed on those because you know the moment that you step out of line, you will lose that person. So it's very important to understand the intentionality behind it.
I don't know. I feel like people evolve, people naturally evolve. So we're talking about a partnership, a lifetime partnership. I'm not going to be the same person who I was when I made those rules back in 15 years ago. So I would appreciate it more if my partner learned me and understood where I was coming from more so than telling me what his boundaries are, because we all got to compromise at some point. And so, say, for example, I started a monogamous relationship with somebody and he then 10 years down the line says that he wants to have an open relationship. That's something I have to consider, right? Like you said, like it's something that either I have to consider or I have to consider losing him. But I think the problem is that it has to be reciprocal. It's always what the man should do versus what the woman should do. And if we make it reciprocal, would the men still have that same opinion?
I understand that, and I agree to the point that people are not going to stay the same, in their journey together. They're going to change, grow, and evolve. That's absolutely true. I just find that today, I don't think a lot of men have either the confidence, the backbone, or the support to kind of state what they want. Like, this is what I truly want. This is what I'm programmed to want, but this is what I truly want. And a lot of people out here are not living their truth. A lot of people out here not living their truth, and they're creating a lot of chaos because they can't be honest, not only to themselves, but the person that they're with. And it creates a lot of issues. If you want an open relationship, won't you just say that from the beginning? If you don't want marriage, why you just don't say that from the beginning? And if it changes and evolve, won't you have the conversation that leads to that? Well, I don't think this will work for me because of X, Y, and Z. And people get to move around, right? Unfortunately, what happens is that people play a dangerous life games with people's feelings, emotions over time, and they sell them a bad bag of goods. And sort of they lead down to these chapters where we find out on the news that the husband did this or the wife did that. All these things could be avoided, but the reality is that a lot of people, through either social pressures or social normalities, are kind of into this sort of rigorous box where they have to conform or operate in a certain manner that is outside their own makeup, right? That's just not who they are. They're playing a character in the part, unfortunately.